Hey guys, this is April.
And Scott.
My amazing husband here. And my rock, my solid rock, let me tell you, because holy shit, the type of day we've had. Starting from 10 hours ago, we go to court this morning. My daughter stands in front of the judge. He orders her into DCF custody like we all agreed. They agreed that they would have a place for my child. 2 hours later, we walk out of this place thinking, okay, that everything's going to go great and she's going to get the help she needs for my RAD child. It didn't turn out that way. Once again, our lives were completely turned upside down, and we were lied to and lied to and lied to. And I'm going to continue to make videos of awareness because this has gotten out of control at this point. My daughter needs help. She needs a facility for RAD children. She needs somebody that'll take her. The social services department of DCF here in Florida agreed that they would help me find a facility for her, and we could speed up that process if we placed her in their custody. So we agreed, my husband and I agreed, that that's what we would do to get her the help she needs. Because a SIP packet in Florida apparently takes about a year, 6 months to a year. And she couldn't be in the home any longer. She was a danger to the family and a danger to her younger sister. And we just needed to get my child help. 2 hours later after court, we come home, we run out, we do a quick job, we come back home. I receive a phone call saying that they received this paperwork on their desk and they don't know what to do with my child. And they say, we need to put her somewhere. My husband and I say, yes, that's what we agreed upon, is that you guys would find her a facility. Well, we don't have one for her. We were told you guys had a plan in action, or we wouldn't have taken this route right now, and she would have stayed where she was safe and monitored. She calls back 30 minutes later. We still don't have anybody. What do you want us to do? I don't know. We didn't know what to do. My husband and I are looking at us like, you guys should have had this planned out. She was put away for 2.5 weeks. And within that 2.5 weeks, you couldn't find anything. You could have told us this and we would have changed our plea in front of the judge. So finally we get another call back from a different social worker who happened to have been her, who was it? Her boss?
Yeah, supposedly the case manager's boss. And this is just one of the many lies we were told today, is that this file just hit her desk today. And DCF has been involved managing this individual's case for over 2.5 weeks. So that was the first lie. And then when we found out that the facility that they leaned back on, which was their intention from the beginning, they really did not try to search out a quality facility. This place was a shelter. Open doors, zero discipline, runaways and criminals. There was a cot to sleep on. No treatment for our daughter, and no proper supervision. And so we said, no, she's not going there. And I got on the phone and I called one of the facilities we had spoken with a few weeks ago, and they said yes, but DCF has to call us and then bring her to us, and we'll bring her in for assessment, and when she qualifies, she can stay at our facility. And this particular facility is secure and does have qualified doctors to provide treatment. And they happen to accept her insurance as well. I guess this was too convenient, or made the DCF officers look like idiots, which they are, and they were offended, and then they tried to strong-arm us. And therefore, we're offended. And I got very firm with the case manager, with intelligent language, and then her boss supposedly comes in and says, "Are you going to give us the birth certificate so we can place her? You have to give it to us." Well, this is how ignorant this woman is. She's already had all this information for the last 3 weeks. But apparently, that first lie I told you about, it's been on her desk since this morning. Liar. Ignorant liar. So I start speaking in a tone like this. Wow, they don't like that. And then she started threatening us that she was going to throw us out of the building. And I used an expletive. But I had already called the police to quell and keep the peace. And guess what happens when they get there? I had called them, but they tried to indict me for threatening and screaming and yelling at the 2 DCF officers.
Which in fact we weren't screaming. When my husband, when they claimed that they were on the phone for 4 hours trying to look for a facility. They weren't on the phone for 4 hours. They were trying to call my biological child's birth father, who is not the birth father of the adopted child, but my biological birth father, daughter. They tried calling him to take my child, and there's no family, there's that we're not friends with them, nothing. So that's what they spent the 4 hours doing. Instead of calling facilities, they called his mom, 86 years old, calling his mother.
I got to give them kudos for their genius detective work. They also found my father's name, who's been dead for 4 years.
Yeah, and questioned me on...
Who's this Richard Moore?
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you send our daughter to this facility you want to send her to, she may get to go visit Richard Moore, because that's the type of facility it is. It's asinine. It was ignorant, unprofessional, incompetence, unbelievable. And that's the only organization we're going to name DCF, because we have to call them out. They're a state organization. Guess who pays their salaries? Guess who pays the rent on their office space? Every single one of us taxpayers in the state of Florida who pay sales tax every time we buy anything non-food item. They work for us, and they're trying to intimidate my wife and I. Yeah, I got a little upset.
Which we have every right to. You know, they promised us that they would find a safe place for my child. My husband and I go to this place. It's a revolving door of criminal children and bratty runaways and children who think that they own the world because they don't want to do a chore at home. And not to mention, while we were there, I had a panic attack.
Because of the condition of the facility.
The condition of the facility, the mouths on these children were, the racial slurs that were coming out of these mouths of 14 and 16 and 17-year-old children were absolutely disgusting. And so I start having a panic attack. I'm hyperventilating in the hallway, and one of the workers there, a worker.
We can't call him an officer, and we can't call him a nurse, because it's not that type of facility.
Right.
It's just some guy in a pair of scrubs.
Right. And he comes up to my husband, and he's like, "Is she okay?" And he's like, she's all right. She's just having a panic attack. And he says, "You know what works really good with my girlfriend?" And shakes like a pretend bottle of pills and goes, "And that too." And it took me by surprise because I had to really look at like who I was looking at, and I realized it was a worker doing this in front of these other children, and they think this is a safe place for my child who has a mental illness. My daughter has a mental illness, and they want to place my daughter here.
These people were suggesting criminal activity to treat my wife's panic attack. And the panic attack that was brought on from stress and then seeing the condition and the conditions of this facility. And it was inexcusable. And so we just put our foot down and said, absolutely not.
So we bring it to the attention of the DCF worker, and she said, well, when we take your child there, I'll have a discussion with them. I said, no, you're not taking my child there. My daughter will not survive in that place one night. I said she will end up hurting herself, or she will wind up lost, because if you just allow an open door policy, my daughter's going to roam your streets. She's got the mentality level of a 5-year-old who doesn't know anything or doesn't know any better, but she could manipulate like a 30-year-old man. I mean, she's absolutely brilliant. And the caseworkers are again trying to go around the subject of the place that my husband found that was secure and safe, and they knew our child there. They've talked with her. They are very familiar with her, and they were willing to take her. But because my husband found them, they didn't want to call. They wanted nothing to do with my husband and I and this facility. So when I started getting upset by saying, call them, and he's saying, call them, suddenly we're escorted out the door. I can't say goodbye to my child. I couldn't give her clothes. They said, well, you can give her your clothes, but they're locking and slamming the doors in our faces. I don't know where my daughter is right now. And I really wish I could talk to her and know that she's safe. Because I'm terrified of what they've done with her. Because I don't know if my baby's safe. And if I had known that they did not have a facility ready for her, then I wouldn't have had her released. Now, they demanded the birth certificate. And I said, I will get you the birth certificate if you sign something that states that you will not send her to this bad program. And I'm not going to disclose the names because I'm not sure about the legality of all of that yet. And it's obvious that they're wanting to come after us, so we got to be careful as to how much information and slanderous things directed at specific organizations other than DCF, because it could be any part of DCF in the whole state of Florida. So we're going to be careful on what we say. So I tell them, no, I'm not giving you the birth certificate. And she says, okay then, and walks away. Well, we knew that wasn't going to be easy. She comes back about 4 to 8 minutes later with a card and says, you have court tomorrow. I said, for what? She said, we'll get that birth certificate. I went, court for what? Well, since you're not allowing us to place her wherever we want. I said, no, you're not going to place her in a place where she is in danger. I know what my child isn't capable of handling, and my daughter cannot handle this place, nor can she handle anybody in there with her mental disability. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Do you have anything that...
Bottom line is, it was sprung upon us at the last minute at about 8:30 this evening that we have court at 1:30, an hour away from where we live, in the middle of what should be our work day, once again. And it's not going to be a work day because we have to go see this judge. And it's also become very apparent to us that we're being targeted because we're not the type of dismissive parents that just cower and let them do whatever they want to. And they're extremely offended when we pick up the ball and say, hey, here you go. Run this one in. I found you something.
Right.
Nope. Can't do that. You're just making us look bad now. Well, you know what? I don't have to make them look bad. They make themselves look bad on a daily basis. And anybody that is watching this has probably known someone or even, unfortunately, had experience with the DCF, Department of Children and Families here in the state of Florida, and understands their incompetence, how they can be bullying, how they will be bullying. They will try to bully you and make you sheepish and let them do whatever they want and pull your children from you.
How many times did they ask, can we place the victim child in with another home?
That was their go-to.
Because they didn't want to take the troubled child. They want to take the good child because she's easier to place. And then leave us here with our troubled child where we're not getting her help. So they want to continue to victimize the victim and completely take her out of her comfort zone. That was mentioned to us at least 3 times.
The victim has had too much, way too much, more than anyone should at any age, especially a 10, 11, 12-year-old. And those are the spans of the years that this activity was going on, as far as we can tell at this time. One of my favorite sayings is take the path of least resistance when we're traveling and stuff like that, and I get picked on for that. But it crosses the line when it's laziness that causes them. They're taking their path of least resistance, which in their world is the least amount of work. They can go to their office, chit-chat with their buddies, do a little bit of paperwork, talk on the phone, have some coffee, and get their government paycheck. And that's all they care about. Bottom line is, everybody that reads this, sees this, we need to all toe a line against this machine that has been allowed to be in place for so long now.
And continue to raise awareness that these RAD children need help. And this isn't on the news ever. It's not in the newspapers. It's not on documentaries. And why is it not? Why is reactive attachment disorder such a secret? It's an interesting disorder. It really is. And I wish I had known more about it, because not only would I have continued to educate myself on this, but I would help other families in need. And I want to help other families with my experiences, with things that may have worked and not worked, and how to handle certain situations. That's what we're all here to do. And we're tired of being brushed off, and we're not going to let this down. We are fighters. Our whole family are fighters. And I'm not going to let social services get away with continuing to antagonize my family when we reach out for help.
We will fight. And 20 minutes in now or so, some of you may be thinking, oh, you said it's been such a long day. Well, it has, and we are exhausted. And we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to finish. My closing statement is, when I say toe the line, I mean talk to as many people as you can. Our Governor DeSantis, our Senator for the state of Florida, Senator Rick Scott, and any of your local powerful individuals with the state representatives, please take the time to drop them a call, phone call, or a note about this and this huge problem that we have in our state. And I'm sure it's not just within our state, but that's their power. That's their wheelhouse. So those are the people we can talk to as citizens of this state of Florida. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.